So one of the most controversial decisions that I took when I was doing this polytunnel was to have this big path down the centre. It may not be controversial for anybody else, but it certainly was in my mind. I was kind of quite torn as to whether to basically just have the whole polytunnel as a big growing area and not have any path at all, or whether to have like inset areas, and there's loads of different options that I considered. In the end, I've been really happy with it. I really like the kind of sense of space that you get in the polytunnel as a result of having, this big path. And I'm not sort of tempted to overplant it and be kind of claustrophobic in here, or overplant it and just have too many plants competing for the same humid air. So it's worked out well. But what do I use this path for? Well, of course we sit on it, and that's pretty important. And we use it as a sort of walkway, because I'm always walking through the polytunnel as I'm sort of moving from the composting area to the shed and out onto the other areas of the plot. It's kind of my favourite path on the whole allotment. But those are kind of fairly incidental uses, but they're still quite important to me. The main thing I use it for is to start things off early in here and then move them outside in spring or summer, and also to start things off outside and then move them in here as we get into sort of September, October sort of time. And I'm just doing that actually with some celery, and so I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm just going to do more of that as we go into winter. So I'm doing kind of incidental crops that I don't need very much space for, things that are not very important to me but are kind of quite nice to have, like a bit of chard goes quite well in a container, parsley, as I said, celery, carrots, all of those sorts of things. They all do quite well in containers in here, and they all started outside and then sort of brought in here. So and then when we get to spring, I do a lot of courgettes and early French beans and things like that, and start those off in here and then move them outside. So it works really well. I also do, of course, all my potatoes get started in here, and then they move outside as well. My oca grows outside until winter, and then it comes in here for its last month or so of life. It's a very dynamic space where things are moving in and out in a way that you just can't do with the beds. The beds are there for the things that are planted for the long term, and because I always think that growing in the ground is the best place to grow anything, they're always the highest value crops for me. So it's the things we're eating pretty much every day. So all the different types of salads, for example, that we grow, the spinaches, the salad onions, all those sorts of things. And then later on, the calabrese and etc. So, and then tomatoes, obviously, and peppers and things. So I think, that's the way I like to do it. So I'll just show you just a few of the things that I'm going to do in containers in here to sort of fill up this space as we move into winter. So in these corner spots, this one here and the one at the far end that currently got cucumbers in, I reuse the same pots with the same compost that the cucumbers used, and that's where I put carrots. So I have 4 big tubs like this of carrots, and they see us through sort of late spring and into early summer. This area down here is mainly focused on the early potatoes. Just here where I've dumped all the bits and pieces is where I'm going to have my late peas. In the centre here I'm going to have my winter celery and parsley, and then that'll be replaced with the early squashes. Now fortunately, one of my early courgette plants has died. You can see it's good service. So I've dragged the pot down here next to the polytunnel, and I'm going to put celery in here, and that'll be the celery that we'll be eating over winter, and I'll have more celery for eating in early spring, which is just about to germinate, hopefully. So I like that. so much that I did 2 of them. I'm doing this a lot with the peripheral crops that are going in the polytunnel now in October, because I want to use the centre aisle for things that are less important to me. Now, celery survives okay outside in most winters, but it doesn't grow very much, and that's the difference. When you put this in the polytunnel, it'll just keep on growing all the way through winter, although I've never done it in containers before, so we'll see how that goes. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen, Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.